Today's video takes a look at another of the products of Judges Guild. This is the Island Book #1. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer. This is our channel, Old School Rules, where we celebrate the community of old school gamers and grognards who like classic RPGs, miniatures, magazines, and everything that goes with it. Today's video continues our look at the products of Judges Guild. This is the Island Book #1 from 1978. Hope you enjoy the video. So today, we're continuing our look at these products that did not come in the regular subscription service. Trying to get through all those, and then we'll pick back up with the subscription service here in a few weeks. So this is the Island Book #1. It's the same size as the regular products. It's all just paper, no heavy stock cover. You've got some art here by Cheryl England, a copyright page, and then these pages for notes where you can write down what you're naming the island, and so a little bit of information about each island you might be designing, and then just some charts, of course, because they love charts, and then just page after page of different drawings of islands in here for you to utilize, improve upon, expound upon, and use in your home campaign. Let's start by taking a look here at the cover. This is the original or first printing of it. Mine's got a little bit of discoloration on there. Artwork, as I mentioned, is by Cheryl England, who does a lot of art for Judges Guild at this point in time. And you'll see, obviously, I think Big Moon, a ship back there, and the edge of an island with this person sort of peeking around behind it. Island Book #1 comes out in 1978. Credit is given to Bob and Bill Davis for being the creators of the product. It would be $2.75 direct order from Judges Guild, and you'd get basically just a 64-page booklet. This is the original cover, as I mentioned. There is a second printing that has a different look to it. It has this sort of a sea dragon there with a ship in the background and then the crags of an island on it, and it came with a single piece of paper with some color on it too in front of the actual booklet if you got that later printing. This is the inside first page. And the first thing I'll point out is we have this map here that shows you so far what they've released in the sort of fantasy setting, the world setting for their campaign. Box 1 is where the city-state of the Invincible Overlord is located. Then they have like the Wilderlands of High Fantasy and some other areas that's to begin to flush out. And eventually they'll have all these little rectangles filled in with different maps that you could get as part of their campaign setting, which is, by the way, really, really good. If you have a chance to pick that up, it's not super expensive. You kind of have to keep your eyes out for these, and you want to make sure, and I have videos on some of these, and eventually we'll have them on all of them, make sure you're getting a complete set, right? Get all the maps, get the booklets, and so forth. And so one of the things I'll point out here is, where would you use this island? So if you're using their campaign setting, I've got some orange circles here. This is map 1, and you'll see off the coast there's all these little islands drawn in. And here's another one of those maps, map 5, which has this huge area that is water. And so they have islands drawn in there, and obviously this is Bob's idea. You take your pen, colored pencil, not only mark those, but you could draw other islands on there as well. And then here's your table of contents. We've got the index where you can keep track, like I said, of each of yours. We'll take a look at those. There's some charts and then various pictures or maps, pre-drawn maps of islands for you. Again, Bill Davis, Bob Bledsoe, designers, assistant designers, John Kessel, Mark Homer. Here's just a little note that they have in there. This booklet is intended to fill the need of any active campaign judge to populate a large area for fantasy role players. Details are left purposefully sparse so the judge can adjust the material to his or her campaign and personalize it. We recommend colored pencils or pens to great advantage to code in the buildings. And you'll notice here, it's a little hard to see these maps. You can see them better with the naked eye than you can on the photos I took to share them with you. And these charts, as we're going to have in here, are guidelines. You should have a flexible approach to this. So the first thing is your index, and then it's coded to each page where there's a different island. You could write in on those big world maps which hex you're putting this island in, the name of your islands, information about the population, the type of civilization, alignments, and information about the ruler if there is one, any type of resources they might have. And there's several pages of this, one row for each page of the book where there are islands drawn. Then they have charts, not quite as many as they have in some of the other ones, but they have several. So first you'd roll a d20. What type of, if you wanted to randomize this, and again, my suggestion would be just use this for ideas rather than letting the dice control it, but that's totally up to you. What type of island? Anywhere from barren rocks, sandy islands, a quote, terrible island, monstrous islands, sleepy islands, peaceful, an atoll, plentiful islands, ample, rich, teeming, lush, luxurious, or paradise. And then they have these little letters at the end about it. V for volcanic, M for mountainous, H for hilly, S for streams, F for special features. Mineral resources are P for provisions, C for dominant type of creature, and T for traps. So again, just their suggestions of the kind of things you might have on your island. In terms of what would be an island feature if you had one: waterfalls, pools, lakes, deltas, swamps, coves, cascades, bogs, marshes, peninsulas, bays, promontories. How big is this special feature? And it says multiply the feature number by 1 to 100 feet. So that's again, you can just make a D100 dice roll. Types of potential island landmarks. Roll a D20. Again, dells, boulders, swamps, cliffs, trails, ravines, cul-de-sacs, ridges, mountain peaks, gullies, or cave entrance. What type of weather do you have on this island? Roll D20. Clear, cloudy, overcast, misty, fog, drizzle, downpours, heat lightning, light breeze, blowing rain, gales, torrents, peeper frog fall. I don't know what that even means. Sticky downpour or oily drizzle. And then here's some sounds you might hear when you get to the island. D20. I like this one, deathly silent. And that should be a good clue to your characters that either there's nothing here or there's something really, really eerie and bad news coming ahead, right? Chirping, crunching, whistling, thumping, moaning, wailing, screaming, splashing, slurping, walking, howling, grunt, screech, roar. A bunch of different options, right? Elevation and height, like how high does it go from obviously starts at sea level. And you get a D100 to see how high the highest peak is going to be. Temperature extremes, D100 roll anywhere from basically freezing cold to super sweltering. And then it also indicates, based on the season, you might subtract or add to the temperature. For every 200 miles north of the equator, subtract 10 from the starting point. For every 1,500 feet in elevation above sea level you get to, it'll get colder by 5 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a double asterisk here that says roll below table indicates a negative temperature. I'm not really sure what that means. I looked at this, I thought about it, I looked at it again and again. I couldn't quite figure out what they were trying to suggest here. I certainly don't think you'd have, well, I think basically you use common sense, right? As you got near a pole, if your world's like the Earth, then things are going to get colder. Again, I think the best thing here is just basically saying you should think about that, right? Look at where your island is, decide if there's something magical going on, and make sure you add. Remember what I say, I think a good referee or DM is going to talk about all the senses, and one of those is what it feels like. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is your skin freezing because it's so darn cold? And make sure that's part of how you describe the environment around the characters. There's a D100 roll for annual precipitation. Take that into account. In growing season in days, there's a D100 for that, anywhere from 1 to 100 up to 260 to 360. And they give you examples of, in the United States, what you might think about. High mountains, and then like the 260 to 360, they say is Florida, where there's basically warmth and precipitation. Assuming you have good soil, you could be growing stuff all year long because you wouldn't be worried about the weather. Other interesting things you might find here: volcanoes, and then describe the type of volcano, whether it's extinct, dormant, active, or erupting. And then if there is an eruption, what are you going to get from that? And if you're too close, they're saying you may be making a saving throw, getting damaged because whether it's the heat, the ash, the magma, something's landing on you, I guess. I think you'd probably run away from that, but maybe you're not that smart. And they talk here about what's coming out, right? A pumice cloud, lava, ash, thin flows, hot ash, mud flows, cinders, fire and broken rock, splattering something, I assume lava, block and ash, obsidian, steam, sulfur, carbon dioxide, methane, boiling rain, a lava fountain, pancake bombs, or a glowing avalanche. Then there's a chart for if you wanted to have some type of protective inhabitant creature or plant traps. Things like quicksand, hidden pits, falling trees, landslide, rock slide, clashing rocks, lightning, giant lodestone, a mirage, a distortion cave, spring trap, deadfall trap, snare trap, spider webs, giant clams, tangle vines, an ambush by something, gas fissure, explosive ruins, or a dazzling mirror. And then these charts we have creative, dominant, and this would be a creature, I think, that is a dominant creature on your island. Several water-based ones like water bugs, octopus, leeches, slugs, spiders, rats, pigs, crabs, a naga, catoblepas, that crazy long-necked cross, I guess, between a cow and something else, right? Giant crocodile, paleosyncus, black dragon, giant frog, a nymph, sea hag, giant sea snake, giant toad, giant turtle, will-o'-the-wisp. Isle provisions, what kind of things you can find here, right? It's barren, salty, potholes, poison, hot springs, warm springs, lava springs, hillside spring, artisan spring, limestone spring, geysers, lake, roots, fruit, vegetables, nuts, game, wreck, I think that means shipwreck, abandoned habitation or inhabited. If there's game, then there's a D20 for what kind of thing you have there, like some types of birds, lots of types of birds, pythons, raccoons, hyenas, rodents, goats, hares, dogs, lizards, tortoises, toads, warthogs, or big cats. You might be the game in that case. Mysterious finds, probability 20% per day if you're marooned and looking around. Skeletons, broken swords, old shields, arrowheads, map fragment, 30% chance to take you to actually something hidden on the island. A keg, an oar, a chest, a wineskin, big tracks from some type of animal, burnt clearing, a pit, crumbled wall, rusty knife, leather thongs, sail scraps, starving castaway, an axe, buried provisions, or a passing ship. And then there's a table if you want your characters to drink what you've determined is non-potable water. You can get yellow fever, nausea, protruding eyes, blotchy skin, stunned, lose your strength. It could end up being oil, cause dysentery, the gripe, lose your hair, lose your teeth, go blind, lose your hearing, fall asleep, become dehydrated, or poisoned. Then we have, if there are habitations, what could they be? A cave, a cavern, a lean-to, hollowed-out tree, a tent made out of an old sail, a pole house, a castle, a temple, ruins, tower, a manor house, stone house, log cabin, grass hut, stockade, tree house, hovel, or an entire village. In terms of inhabitants, then we get a D20 roll. Different types of Vikings, merchants probably stranded, I guess, right? Pirates, lizardmen, fishmen, elves, were-sharks, were-dolphins, buccaneers, halflings, cavemen, tribesmen, gnolls, goblins, gnomes, cannibals, garrison, recluse, castaways. And then if you're a recluse, there's a D20 roll for that. Castaways also, and garrison also for those three. There's a whole other chart you go to here. Your recluse could be a hermit, rejected lover, exiled noble, studious sage, hideous outcast, researching alchemist, hiding from an enemy, paranoid collector, monkly vows, cursed extrovert, exiled godling, prospector, artifact hunter, someone who loathes speech, an escaped slave, an insane wizard, a mad scientist, rotting disease victim, black plague victim. Your castaways could be various classes: pirates, buccaneers, engineers, alchemists, sage, ship's captain, lost merchant, an Amazon, or a craftsman, and in all the different character classes. A garrison, this could be a naval station, a merchant's trading post, pirate stronghold, some type of temple, monastery, sacred artifact, an assassin's hidden headquarters, a ritual initiation, a warning outpost, messenger's way station, gathering point for an invasion, a prison, secret laboratory, punishment duty, like you're sent there for punishment. An insane royal relative has been placed here, an exiled warlord, someone who's forgotten, deserters, brigands, or sacred burial grounds. So again, some good ideas to mine in there, I think. All right, finally, I think we have inhabitants of the seabed, and there's just random charts here for different type of creatures. They have 8 of those, it looks like, are different types of were creatures that don't exist anywhere else in the monster manuals. And then regular monsters that you would see underground. What's around the sort of the island approach are the rocks, reefs, cliffs, sandbars, current, strong winds, a lagoon, an island channel, a shore party if there is one. And when they go to a shore, right, bad things could happen. Your boat sinks, it overturns, it gets swept away by the current. You find something mysterious, see a passing ship, you get lost, you get lured into a trap, attacked by flying creatures, attacked by animal creatures. You find a castaway, you find another shore party, you find your own ship is now gone, you find a recluse or inhabitants or a garrison attacked by creatures, find a habitation, find hidden treasure, find provisions. And again, there's different charts, right, for many of those things you could go back to and use. If you want to have a coastal encounter, roll d20, and then it basically has just a bunch of water-based monsters. And then passing ships, what's on that ship? Anything from cannibals, regular pirates, and regular merchants, men-at-arms, buccaneers, a ghost ship, a dolphin sled, a seahorse carriage, a mage's sloop, and a merchant's gallery. Okay, so I know it took a little longer than normal. Just thought maybe those charts were interesting. Here's a couple of looks at different types of islands. They're just all shapes and sizes, right? And I think there was a question on my castle video specifically about the islands, but it's the same answer for all of these things. So what exactly is going on with the maps that are in here, right? Well, so you'll see this page has a bunch of little tiny hexes and then like one really big hex, right? And that I put the orange outline on there. So that orange outline is 5 miles across. And each of those little hexes is 0.2 miles across. All right, and that fits into the base hex system that they have. So remember this big map, and we'll zoom in a little bit, right, on that. Go back down here. I'm out in the water in the island section. Each of these hexes is a 5-mile hex, and so each of these pages would be one of these hexes. And so you would, look there and say, I think that is number 2229, or maybe it's 1229. It has an island in it, and maybe so I decide, okay, for that island on the Valon campaign map, I'm going to pick page 25 here, and this is the island you find when you go there. And I might draw extra things on there. I color it in. I give it a name. I go through and determine who lives on this island and all those kind of things, right? That's part of my campaign. And so here are just a few examples. You get really different islands. This one's got a lot of sort of an inlet or a cove, which looks like a big tower, fortified tower of some sort, some smaller towers. This one doesn't have any buildings or improvements on it, but has several small islands around it. Here's another one that's not improved at all. This one has a little bit of an outpost on it. Looks like a guard tower, maybe a couple small buildings, very, very small outpost. All shapes and sizes, right? And there's essentially 50 pages, I think, more or less of those in there. Cheryl England has some nice artwork in here, so I just want to highlight that. You've got the island, the ship, you got the steering wheel, sextant or something like that, hourglass, the front of a Viking ship, a Viking's helmet, and then maybe you've come across this skull and broken dagger somewhere on an island. At the very back, you have no longer really the booty list per se that lists everything, but more some highlighted items that they're selling here, right? And again, we've covered most of these at this point, and the ones we haven't, we'll get to at some point in this video series. Then there's some artwork on the back inside page. This is the Wonderlands of High Fantasy art that's featured there. And then there's some art on the very back cover of this item. And this is sort of a Conan-looking guy facing some type of a brigand with a curved sword. So that's it for our look at the Island book number 1. And yes, there is an Island book number 2. We'll get to much later. It comes out several years, at least a few years later. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Hope you're enjoying our Judges Guild series, and I hope you're subscribed. If you have friends who might be interested in our content, please send them our way. Hopefully they'll be subscribers, become part of this community as well. Hope you guys have a great day, and until next time, keep rolling 20s.